Okay, well, in light of some madness that's happening all over the United States, if you watched here in Austin, Texas, there was a riot in downtown. They were using gas and pepper spray to disperse, and there were tons of civilians down there, not just the rioters, not protesters. Like, I'm a big constitutionalist, love the First Amendment, and there's a very important word in there, the peaceful assembly, but that's a story for another day. How and why would you need all of this stuff? We've just seen in the past few months boats crashing into bridges that are carrying all sorts of things, train derailments, natural disasters. We're on a tornado warning right here in like central United States, Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma. All of us are on hurricane advisories. Tomorrow there's hail coming in with a thunderstorm. And then of course, like, big problems with civil unrest. You just don't know when it's going to happen. And what we absolutely know is the soft truth is you cannot prepare for a disaster or a crisis after
it's happened.
That's right. So we have to prepare ahead of time. So we're going to go through like some of the considerations, some of the things that you want to think about. I think that we're like obviously we're a preparedness company. We teach self-defense, but in 2019, I never thought that people, like the entire world, would be running around with masks that really don't do anything. But it definitely triggered a portion of my brain that what are other things that I hadn't thought about and how can I make sure that my family is safe? So we're going to go through some of this stuff. We're going to go through some considerations in and around, the chemical, biological, and nuclear considerations of airborne pathogens, airborne contaminants that could hinder a person to get out of a danger area.
Yeah, to me, like, all this is important anyway, because as we progress, we get farther and farther into the future, more and more of the infrastructure that carries and supports these type of chemicals, and more chemicals get created, these enduring chemicals. People are coming closer and closer. So even if somebody doesn't have dastardly intention, the likelihood that something happens, like a train derailment or something in your neighborhood, where some chemical which will require you to take some protective action could get released, that's a very real thing. Not to be terrified, but to be prepared. If I'm prepared, then I don't have to be terrified. But if you're not, it could be bad, and we're seeing it more and more. And it's just because that infrastructure is encroaching more and more on where we work, live, and play, and so you got to be ready for that.
Yeah. So one of the first considerations is kind of like the mask itself with mask fit. So I have a bandana here. This is useful. This is a metallic one. That's kind of cool.
Very useful.
Yeah. But this does nothing kind of but stop debris, and it doesn't do a great job of that. Same thing with these little surgical masks that got super popular and that are all but useless. You still see people that live with fear walking around with them. Here are masks that like I use around the house when I'm weed eating, during high pollen seasons. If I make my son come out and do yard work with me, I make him wear, a kid-sized one. I have extra filters that I keep new in the bag that I can change those out. But like filter quality is a real big thing. I'm gonna get through how the masks should fit, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the different type of filters and the canisters that are associated with that. So I have a 4-year-old. Just every time I touch this, it makes me really sad because like this is the tiniest little mask. From like the goal in all of this is to be able to protect my family, and so making sure that I have a proper fit. So a proper fit is going to perfectly seal around your whole entire face. This is why in some cases they don't let firefighters have beards for the self-contained breathing apparatus. What you have to be able to do is plug the air intake or exhale and take a big hard breath and make sure that thing is perfectly sealed on your face so no air is coming in or out. Because this is not a positive pressure ventilation system, we don't have air escaping all the time. It has to be perfectly sealed both on the inhale and the exhale. That's a big difference. As these kind of masks go up in purpose and quality, up here to like the one that I travel overseas with, an issued one, down to over-counter ones, to little children ones, you're just gonna have to be specific, strategic, and sometimes economic in what and why you're picking. Like a real common brand, 3M, you can get fantastic filters from them, but So that kind of gets into the mask fit. You want it nice and tight, where inhale and exhale. I think next importance is the filter.
Yep. The filter quality, the type of filter that you choose, and understand there's a myriad of different filters that go for these things. Some of them are designed for chemical components. Other ones are just for dust and particulate. Don't confuse the two. So don't go purchase a mask with a particulate filter, something designed to keep out dust and and grass particulate when you're mowing. When in reality, you want to get your hand on like one that's for organic vapor. These ones that say organic are the minimum that you would want because they're designed to keep out, like I said, those enduring organic chemicals and vapors, things that can do real damage, like down to the DNA, cellular level in your body. And so you don't want to inhale those things. And don't think just because I have a filter on there, that's going to do the trick. So filter selection is very important.
Even when I bought, kind of like bougie masks that come with their canisters, the included filters that came with it are nothing but more than N95 masks. Yep. It's the same thing as this. So I had to buy separate filters that would get to other finer particulates, organic matter and things that aren't going to be stopped by a regular cloth cotton N95 mask.
Yeah, those things are designed to capture something, whether that's a virus, a bacteria, or some particulate in the air. These ones are designed for vapor, something that's not a solid object, but it will also prevent that from going through, and that's what you want.
Lifespan. Unfortunately, filters have expiration dates. And, when you do the good old Amazon thing, there's a giant warehouse and you can plan that the first in, first out rule is going to apply. So first in, as in like the oldest thing to go into that warehouse is going to be the first thing that's shipped. So here's one that I got a couple of days ago, and this expires this year. Just ordered it. And the one that I get expires. Normally they have like a 3 to 5 year lifespan. Some of like the military commercial ones have longer, but the finer the thing that it's going to be catching, the shorter the lifespan, and the more expensive it is, the longer it's going to last, but the more things it's going to catch. So like you're kind of playing this game on the economy of like how long is it going to last, how much am I going to spend? But that's pretty infuriating, right? That something I bought a couple of days ago expires this year, and but not surprised. That's how it works. Like these cotton ones kind of go for forever, and when you get into some of the, don't show all the stuff that I got on here, Carlos. The expiration dates are, this is 2025, 2024 as well. And this is a new one. That sucks, but welcome to the problem.
It's definitely something you have to take into consideration. Just know that a lot of times when you buy these from the manufacturer, they have rules about how much shelf life it has to have when you purchase it. But if you buy it through a second party or a third party, they may or not adhere. They're going to ship it because they just want to sell it. But if you buy it direct from 3M or those entities, like most of the medical equipment I buy, the manufacturer, it has to have 5 years of shelf life or they can't sell it. So that's because I get it direct from the manufacturer. But if you get it through a third party, they may not adhere, and you might get one that expires in the year that you got it. Remember, that is the date in which it will survive in the package when they can insure it in the package. Once I open it and start using it, especially if it's in a chemical environment, it's to the point where it hits saturation. So that life drops off sharply, that curve drops off sharply once it's out of the package and I start using it. So you want to make sure that it's as fresh as possible, untampered when you go to use it, when you need it, and that you keep this stuff in a place where the seal is not going to be broken. That way when you do go to use it, it's in the best condition possible.
Yeah. You see all my stuff still in the original plastic, just to keep it nice and sealed. This one, brand new, has a 10-year life, and it's just kind of sitting there. Training. It's important.
Yeah, none of this is any good to you without training. My man Colonel Cooper said, you're no more a marksman because you own a gun than you are a musician because you own a guitar. Simply having it doesn't mean that you know how to use it. You have to practice with it. When I was in the military, and anybody who's in the military knows, they run drills on this all the time. When they say that there's a gas alarm or they give you the alarm, you got 9 seconds to get this thing on you. You immediately stop breathing and you got 9 seconds to get on. Trust me, you're not going to get one of these things on fully donned donned and evacuated in 9 seconds without some training. You got to take some throws at it. There's definitely got to get some practice. You have to know where all the adjustments are and stuff like that. It's easy, and you can make kind of a game out of it. It's not hard to do, but don't suspect just because I have this thing in the bag or I finally purchased the equipment. Now I don't tell my family where it is or we've never practiced putting them on, that miraculously they're going to get good at it when a cloud of vapor is coming at your house. Nobody gets good in those situations. Remember, you're going to fall to the level you're training, so you have to train.
And train as you fight. Get really familiar with the equipment. Some of these, this one, for example, the air in nozzle here, this is sealed and closed. It's to keep it clean. We're going to talk about maintenance in a second. So if I throw this mask on as is and I try to take a breath, all I get is and I'm gonna suffocate. I have to take it off, attach the nozzle to be able to attach it to my filter, to be able to put it onto my face. So the configuration that you kind of have it set up is something that you need to rehearse and train. Nothing worse than getting surprised, throwing a mask on, trying to take a breath, and then it's like, you throw your tank on, you forgot to turn on your air. Ever been there?
Yes. Or even worse, the fit's wrong and you throw it on and it does suck in air, but it sucks in everywhere but the filter. That'd be catastrophic. So you got to make sure the fit is right and that you can get it on and get it sealed. So all equally important. So make sure you know what you're doing there's a lot of different systems. They all have different straps, different fitment. You got to make sure that you know what you're doing with these things. You can get your hand on. Every one of these is, with the exception of the one down on the end, is commercially available. And with enough money, you could probably even get that one.
Yep.
But some of these are affordable, easy to get a hold of, and great for most purposes and would come in very handy. Even if it's something as simple as this with the right type of filter would be enough to get you evacuated out of your neighborhood and to a safe spot. And boy, would it pay huge dividends. This sells in the neighborhood of $25 to $35, and then I spend another $30 for filters, and I know that I have an evacuation plan. That's great. If I want to step it up to a couple $100 or above, I can get something as nice as these full face masks, but every single one of them is going to require training. None of them are so intuitive that you can just throw them on in an emergency. So make sure you train with them.
Yeah, and if you could do this economically, like $30 out the door with everything here, like around 100 right here, doing it the right way, 150, 400 when you kind of get up to the military, special operations, drink straws, commo considerations. Big consideration when you're spending this money is maintenance. As you see, I kind of have these preset to throw on. I also have the protective things over the glass because I don't want it to get scratched up. The point is for me to get out of where I'm at, where whatever, if it's chemical, biological, or nuclear, that stuff that's in the air, I want to get out of that area. I want to evacuate from there. I'm not going to stay in there. So I have to be able to see, I have to be able to drive, I have to be able to communicate. So maintenance is key. I want to keep them clean. I want to keep them out of the sun. Rubber is something that just deteriorates when it sits out in the sun. If it sits in the heat and it gets deformed because of the temperature, this is plastic, this is rubber. All of those things don't do well with heat or sun. And they don't do well when they're dirty. It's not going to have a great seal if it's warped, if it's melted, if it's cracked, or if it's dirty. So maintenance, making sure that all the stuff stays where, like if this part pops out, I'm not gonna have this little rubber seal that goes onto the filter itself. That's an important component that might just fall out if I don't store this properly, and that's just gonna go into maintenance, making sure that all the buckles and the straps are working properly. And if I'm training and rehearsing, those things are things I'm gonna get my hands on all the time.
Yep. As far as what do I pack out? What do I have ready? What do I need? Of all these components, what do I need to have? You definitely need to have the mask. You need to have some way to keep it clean. And you need to have the filters together in a place where you can easily access them. All those things, I recommend you keep in a waterproof, dry case. Only because, and call that your emergency kit for if you need something in the event. And let everybody know where it is and that they understand. And that right on top, as I open that case, that's where those masks are going to be. Masks first, I get them. If you want to keep them in a waterproof bag like this, something that's sealed and so that it stays dry and clean, that's outstanding. And then I want to be able to get to the masks first and foremost, because I got to get those on, get them done, because I'm going to be holding my breath. Right? That's reality. And so you can hold your breath for a while, but you want to hold your breath, close your eyes, and get that thing on, and be able to get that thing on while holding your breath and your eyes closed, and then be able to get in that bag and get whatever other equipment. Most of these masks are designed so you can change filters, right? There is a way to purge them and change a filter. So if I have a spare filter, which I should have, I should be able to change those filters readily. That's some of the lower systems, you're not going to be able to do that. But these other systems, they have a system. That's why I love these ones where it's a remote system, like the old school. You can see these kind with a hose. That's nice because all I have to do is crimp the hose. I can change out the filter and redo it if there's not a one-way valve in there that'll prevent me from doing it. Changing out a filter on a remote one is nice because on the mask I can look down and see it. So there is some benefit to those, and that's why you see like the firemen with SCBA, they all have a remote hose to a remote filter because it's much easier to change those filters.
Have you ever tried to like take it off when it's on your face?
It's
hard.
tricky. So it can be done, but that's another thing. I'm going to go back to training. Like if it's not one where you can see it and it's one you have to operate on the side of your face, it's not necessarily going to be visible to you. And most of these have a system so they don't fog up where they're on. It just recirculates the air as you breathe it. But it is going to be tricky. So that's another thing you have to train, being able to switch out the filter while you hold your breath in case you have to change a filter, in case the filter becomes saturated or you've just been wearing it so long. So have all that together in your emergency kit ready to go. And the important thing is that everybody knows where it is. And just like, and we'll talk about it a little bit on, it's just like when you're on the airline and they tell you who gets theirs put on first, you do. Get your mask on, get situated, and get to where you can you're healthy and you can help other people and assist putting their masks on. Because a lot of times we have to do this. Even in the military, it's a team effort. We do it. Like I get it on and then I'm immediately going to help the people around me get theirs on. And then we're going to help each other change filters and monitor for any kind of breaches in the system, things like that. Check each other out, make sure they're okay, and then get the F out of D, if you know what I mean. You gotta escape. That's the whole idea, is to get to somewhere where it's not a problem. Get what you need, get your valuables, and get out of there. So, and if you're prepared, you can. And if you're not, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? There's a lot of people who are, in the news today that were, stuck in a town where a train wrecked and unleashed a horrible gas cloud in the air, and they're still today wondering what that was. And they're not getting straight answers from the company, from the government, from anybody. And the people who got out, they're happy. The people who hung out and didn't get out, they may be dealing with that with the rest of their life, and it may shorten their lifespan. So you don't want to get stuck in that boat.
Yeah. Great segue into like getting out. Yep. In addition to training and rehearsing, escape route. Like what, from where you are or where you're going to be, how do you get out of there? It's important to think about. You've seen every single natural disaster movie and every apocalypse movie where freeways are just congested and it's a place to go and die. Having multiple routes, like your primary, your alternate, your contingent, your emergency routes, back roads, making sure you got good navigation equipment, like plan on your phone not working. Do you have a satellite navigation? Do you have a compass? Do you have a map? Any of those things. I have one of those giant, what are they called, Tom?
Yeah, TomToms?
Yeah, no, the old book that has the United States and it goes to like 34 and I flip to page 34.
Yeah, you're talking about a road atlas?
Yeah.
Road atlas?
I got one of those in my truck.
That's a reach back.
Yeah, but I got one. Like MapQuest isn't around anymore, so you got to have your skills. I can almost navigate anywhere in the whole entire country off of one book, and you can still buy those. They're super handy.
Yep.
Batteries
don't die on them.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
But having those routes to get out are super important. As important as having all of your stuff. So you see my whole entire family get up here, and I also have one extra mask that's like for the unknown. Like I have a friend, one of my kids have a friend over, or somebody's visiting, and we just got to go. So I kind of have everything that I need in one waterproof bag that's sealed. It's it's kept in good regular conditions and temperatures out of the sun. It's just like always just sitting there and ready to bebop.
Yeah. It's great to have all this stuff. So the next thing you're going to have to work through is communication. Communication's a big issue because once you have these masks on, it's going to be very difficult to hear. It's difficult to hear in chaotic situations anyway, but now I'm muffled, my face is covered, so this is about the best you're going to be able to produce when I have these on. Some of them have voice emulators in them, so they're designed to air pass through, and it has something that'll let sound come through, but for the most part, it's muffled. It's not until you get into the higher end military systems that they're going to have like a comms port where you could actually connect a radio or some kind of amplifier. They do have those systems. They are pricey. You can get them, but the higher military ones, the expectation is the military guys will be operating them and wearing them much longer. So they have a port so I can connect water and safely drink water through it. I can take water right through a hose that's passed through, and a chemical connection to a canteen, and then a comms port where we can talk either via radio or it's an amplifier. Most of the low-end systems are going to have that. So the requirement is, again, training to go back and practice communications. In the military, how do we do that? We all don masks and then we go play like volleyball or flag football together, which means we go out and do some activity with it on. That kind of gets you comfortable with the system and the restrictions of the systems. And B, it gets you used to the way that you have to communicate when the system's on. Again, I'm going to bounce back to where we talked about training. All that has to be done ahead of time. Don't wait till the crisis to learn that it's very difficult to communicate with these things, whether you're driving, running, doing whatever, or trying to tell the kids a thing or two. So if we put them on, we practice communicating ahead of time, then we understand what the restrictions are, or what the limiting factors are. If we don't, we never did it, it's going to be very challenging for you. And you'll learn, like the first time I ever had to do anything in full protective gear and full protective posture in the military, full turnout, it was an exercise in horrible communication. It is pretty bad. It's horrible. It's hard to hear or say anything, but you get used to it. And again, that's just having reps and having it on and getting used to doing it.
Matt and I did a 15-minute video on communication in austere environments during natural disasters. We go in pretty good depth about some considerations about how to use communication equipment. Today we're just kind of talking about CBN and what are the things that you should plan for in that instance. Make sure you go and look at that communication video. It's not comprehensive, but it has a ton of information in it. Yeah. Similarly, Matt, we have TTRC, the Tactical Trauma Response course, how to do medicine in an austere environment or in a crisis. We're not going to go into great depth, but there are medical considerations in and around having to do this. So in a natural disaster, there could be all sorts of trauma that's happening around you, and just because your face is covered doesn't mean that your skin isn't exposed. You have a lot of different ways to absorb chemicals. You have absorption, which is literally through the skin. You have ingestion. You have injection. These all happen even if your face is covered.
Yeah, this covers inhalation, but those other things are still very real. And then on top of that, you have all the other medical considerations. So maybe I have to put on a turnout, maybe I have to protect myself, and then I have to go to work helping somebody. So there'll still be wounds to treat. You still have to treat those and got to be able to decontaminate those as well. As a rule, we say the solution to pollution is dilution. That's a neat little saying if devoid of every other specialty equipment, just hit it with a ton of water, as much clean water as you can hit it with. That's your best bet. If I'm gonna decontaminate somebody and I feel that they've been exposed to some chemical, I'm gonna go plus P on the water and give them as much water, clean filtered water as I can use, and that's my best thing. We have to protect their face and make sure that their inhalation hazard is gone, but then we have to decontaminate their skin, and we're still going to treat wounds. And still consider this, because if you're taking diabetes medication, heart medication, any other medication that you have to take orally, now I have to figure out, was I ready for that as well? Was that put into some place where I could easily get access to it? And what's the plan? Like, how long can I wait before I have to access any kind of oral medication? Or will I be able to give an injectable med? So maybe somebody in your family's diabetic and they require insulin. The last thing you want to do is, if their skin is contaminated, give them an injection and go through that contaminated skin. Remember, you got to have some system that will clean that skin off, and so that people can take the normal medications they do. That doesn't go away. And if that's a consideration that you have in your daily life, you got to add it into your emergency kit and be ready for it and have an understanding. Make sure you have stuff set aside for it. That's the number one thing when I see people setting up for crisis, prepping for disasters and stuff, is they often forget about those daily quick things that we take all the time. The pill that dad has to take, the pill that mom has to take, make on the daily, we forget to consider, do I need more of that, A, and B, is it in the same place as the emergency kit? Because we bug out and we leave that medicine, great, she's not exposed to an inhalation hazard, but now the hazard is she doesn't have her medication, and that could be just as bad, if not worse.
Last, continuous monitoring. Making sure that our equipment is, the seal is staying good. I'm on my route, getting out. I'm communicating effectively. Like I'm executing my rehearsed plan that I've trained continuously. You can go, and when you buy your filter, you're going to see how long, not just the shelf life when it's going to expire inside of its case, but also how long it's going to last as you're just breathing through it before it's saturated. And depending on the quality of the filter, the size of the filter, some of them will last longer than others. Some of them, if you go with like a low vis one that's small, it'll still stop some of that organic vapor, but it's only going to last like an hour. Some will last 3 hours. Some will last 12 hours. It's not helpful if you haven't gotten off the X. You're still sitting there just putting all of those contaminants inside of your filter that are ultimately again end up in you. So you want to get up, get out, get your family to someplace safe, upwind, and clean everybody off, and then figure out how you're going to survive kind of moving forward.
Yep. All good information. Make sure that you're prepared, because the threat is real. I don't want to be a fear monger. What I want to do is be a training monger and get you to get out and train and be prepared, because it's something as simple as somebody else's mistake when it comes to moving chemicals and across the transportation infrastructure, all the way up to where people have in the recent future had very dastardly designs on hitting people with their homemade chemical weapons. You don't know what they put in there. You know what kind of enduring effects it has. So always be prepared.
Yeah.
Always have good situation awareness, which we always train here, and get your hands on some of this stuff. Get smart, because it's not that difficult. It's not that expensive. Just a little bit of training, a little bit of know-how, and all of a sudden you buy a lot of security for your family and for the people you love, and you get to protect the things that you love.
Yeah. Easy cheesy. All right, stay safe, stay free, and go train.
Hey, if you like this content and you want to see more of it on our channel, hey, just leave it in the comments below. Let us know. Please like and subscribe. If there's something we missed here or something else that we should be adding to the list and we could come back and talk about it, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. We always love a good discourse in our comments to talk about it. Go to sheepdogresponse.com for self-defense training, some situational awareness and preparedness training, and we'll provide more videos. Check us out on our YouTube, Sheepdog Response.